Hello, here we go. It's the Cop-Eye Podcast.
What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the Cop-Eye Podcast, and we're going to be discussing, obviously, Sunday's pretty big game against Arsenal at the Emirates. But yeah, I'm Mick, and I'm joined by Kristian, as usual. How you doing, lad?
As usual nowadays. Yeah, I'm good. I'm a little bit tired. I've been away with work in Stockholm for 2 days, which was really good. But you always get a bit tired from it though. But yeah, Friday, so time to get a bit of a rest before the big game on Sunday.
Get the beers in. Get the beers in ready.
Yeah, I had a few over the couple of days it's been. So
yeah, you've had a few days, haven't you, today? Love life with the beers, but
yeah,
obviously we discussed the Rangers game straight after. That was good, and we discussed the Arsenal game like briefly, obviously, but we needed to do a proper show. But did you obviously Klopp's press conference was it 10:30, was it, or 11:30, something like that today? Did you manage to watch that? There was some good quotes from that.
I watched a bit. I couldn't watch it all because I had a few things at work to do. So I listened, but I couldn't concentrate 100% on what he said. But listened to a few bits.
Yeah, because I've got a few screenshots of a quote. Shout out to Paul Gorst. He's been on the show a few times. He's a legend. So Klopp got asked on injuries. He said Curtis Jones trained yesterday and looked good. Just his first session. Naby Enoch still a bit away from returning. Arthur is injured in last session before Rangers. Normal situation. A muscle. Robertson is running, looks close, and Curtis is closest to returning. And that's just typical Liverpool, isn't it? Like, we finally get Curtis Jones back after ages, it feels like, and then Arthur gets injured. Because I think in the team news show for the Rangers game, we were talking about like double pivots in midfield, and I was like, actually, Arthur could probably do that if he comes off the bench. And I looked at the bench, and Arthur weren't there, and I was like,
exactly.
And
we were both used to
Liverpool, isn't it? At the minute, like we'll gain a player, but then we'll lose a player.
Yeah, we talked about that as well, that he might just be, dropped out because he's still getting, fit for playing games in the Premier League or whatever. Obviously, this was Champions League against Rangers, but just, to get his fitness up because he hadn't played for a while. But now, obviously, we know that he's out because he's injured, which is annoying when, like you say, we get Curtis back soon, then we can, have more midfielders to rotate with, but then we lose another. So it's frustrating as well because everyone obviously talks about Arthur being an injury-prone player coming from Juventus, didn't play for a while there. We picked him on a loan, because we needed a midfielder, and just everyone's eager just to see him, obviously, because he got the skills, when he came through, when he played for Barcelona and all that. But, then we just wait, and it turns out that he's injured, and then you just go like, not one of them again. So hopefully he can just, come back from that, and hopefully he can be able to play. Or otherwise, we just give him back to Juventus at the end of the season without like 0 games played for Liverpool.
That's a Ben Davis situation.
Yeah, so it is what it is, but it's good to hear that Klopp says a few players are close to come back, and Curtis is closest. So with Robbo as well, we need them in October because it's going to be many games. So good news that they are soon back.
Yeah, definitely. And we've got a few peeps in the chat. We have got Doug from Doug Out Football Channel. Nice one, Doug, for jumping on. We've also got Paul. Afternoon, lads. It's Friday. Thank fuck. Doug says Kloppo swore. Yeah, and I've got a little screenshot of that actually, so I'll just throw that one up just for a laugh. James Pierce, Klopp said we have to. So basically, I think the initial word he said was rubbish, and then he got asked to clarify. And then he basically just said we have to defend the shit out of everyone we face. Yeah. And I noticed after it, people obviously laughed, but no one said oh, don't swear or anything, because it's just normal for Klopp, I suppose. Just hard saying stuff like that. But
is it considered as a swear word, like proper swear word in England though? Is shit a proper swear word?
It's one of them. Like if you say it
in between,
say it before 6 p.m. or 7 p.m., it's like you're not merely meant to before the watershed. Which I don't know. I think it might be 7 or 8 p.m. actually, or 9 p.m. I don't know. It's in the it's in the night time. I know that. Like, it's more obviously you can have it on TV, but it's not usually especially in like a live press conference on like YouTube with like thousands of people watching. Probably not meant to say that. I know in like another country, is it in Sweden? Is that fine? Just to say shit.
In the context that Klopp said it, I think it would be okay. Yes, like if someone just said that on a Swedish, like a manager for a Swedish team said that in a Swedish press conference or whatever, you say that in Swedish, obviously, I think no one would notice. I couldn't say that it's actually accepted because I don't really watch Swedish football that much, or I'm not that interested, to be honest. But it just feels like that would be something that someone said to actually make a little bit more of a statement what is kind of needed to do in a game, wherever, to actually put a little bit of an extra power to what he said. And I think that's what Klopp wanted to say as well, but he used another word like rubbish. But that was probably the wrong word in the context, which made him have to explain what he meant, because I think there was a report just asking what he meant, and then he said that obviously with the shit word, because that's what he was, that's what he wanted to say. Yeah.
And I think she was just kind of asking, like, he wanted to get the rubbish out, like the players' system, which means obviously we've been playing bad. We want to get that out the way. And then she obviously just wanted that clarifying, and then Klopp just clarified it by saying, switching out rubbish for the word shit, which is just typical.
Yeah, I just love Klopp. Yeah, he's brilliant.
Absolutely. But just got one more quote.
It's like the brain fuck. That's the thing as well.
Oh yeah, brain fog. Why can everyone say brain this way, but not I can't? That's such a classic one. That one.
It's brilliant. It's one of the best things that I ever heard. To be honest, it's brilliant. Yeah.
But speaking about, obviously, we need to talk about the Arsenal game a little bit more in detail. And Klopp said on that, teams have worked out how to play against us when we're not at our best. Teams figured out years ago, but still didn't work for them because we were exceptional. Whatever system we play, there's no system in the world with no weakness. It's about how we perform. I think that's quite key, because I think there was times, like, even when we were battering everyone knew the way to play against Liverpool is sit deep, long balls, use the pace on the left wing or right wing, whichever way you want to go. Usually the right wing, because Trent would usually be higher. But we were so good at just scoring goals and containing teams and limiting their chances that it just wasn't effective. But obviously now we're going through a little bit of a bad patch in terms of our form and stuff. But hopefully that can be turned around with the Rangers game, and that can be a little step in the right direction. But it's like people saying, "Oh, we've been found out," and I agree completely. We got found out a long time ago. It's easy to have a system to play against Liverpool. You just have to execute it properly, and you have to do it when Liverpool aren't playing that well for you to get results from it.
Yeah, of course. And, the opposition's teams, their managers and, people that analyze the game, they obviously check that straight away when we started playing that way. So it's not a secret, that's the way we play. But like you said, we have all the players to play that system and play in the way we wanted to. And with the quality we have had for so many years now, but still teams couldn't, play against us because they needed to be perfect, if so to say. And I think also with the midfield, get a little bit older with Henderson. We talk about Fabinho has not been in form, and Milner is obviously he's been old for ages, but he's been brilliant too. But it's just that we had Gini Wijnaldum playing, and he was like just a battery force in midfield. Like he could run everywhere all the time with winning the ball, going forward, put pressure. So we had a different midfield, a different way of play as well, and I think that actually also causes a lot of. It put things in perspective that we actually, when we lost Wijnaldum, we actually lost an extra dimension in midfield that helped us play the way we did, because he was that kind of player. So if you go back and look at the games when he was playing with Henderson and Fabinho, he gave something extra that we actually haven't had since. And I think that's a big thing for us that we lost him. We can see it now when we're not informed that he was that good. So like I agree with Klopp. They need to be perfect when they play against us, and if we're not perfect, it's obviously much easier. But if we can reach the level again, that we've been before, a lot of teams will struggle because we have the quality all over the pitch.
Yeah, I think the Wijnaldum thing, he was obviously like a left winger or like a false nine sometimes for Newcastle, and then obviously tailored his game to be really good as a left centre midfielder. And that was when we relied on the fullbacks even more. It was a structured midfield, flying fullbacks, but now we've obviously got the likes of Thiago, the likes of Harvey Elliott. So the onus isn't just on the fullbacks, which was what people wanted when you look back at that time. You were like, oh, why can't we have a bit more creativity in midfield? That was always the thing I saw on Twitter. We need more creativity. The midfield's boring. It's stale. It's functional. Doesn't do anything else. But it worked because it allowed the rest of the team to do really well. And I think we could really do with that functional midfield again. Wijnaldum that right now, because that would really obviously make us a lot more difficult to break down. But Panev Scouse is in. Afternoon, fellas. Nice one, lad, for jumping in. But I was just looking at the, I love stats. Arsenal have only beat us once in the league since Klopp came in, and that was in July 2020 in the season with no fans. That's a mad one, isn't it? Because I think years gone by, obviously Arsenal were really good, like late 90s, early noughties, and they always battered us. Thierry Henry used to just tear us to shreds all the time, and then as obviously Klopp came in, I always felt worried going to Arsenal away. It's always a difficult place, but we always seem to get a result or batter them. Sometimes we just tend to turn up and show how good we are. But that's a good stat, isn't it? That's a good one. But I think like this Sunday's going to be maybe the most difficult so far in his 7 years.
Yeah, but you don't think about, that we actually been really good against Arsenal under Klopp, because, like you said, we always kind of connect our thoughts with Arsenal actually being a very difficult team. But that goes back like to when with Henry and Patrick Vieira and all the players, and they were really, really fantastic. But the last couple of seasons we've been actually, it's always been there, like, oh, it's Arsenal away or whatever. But then we actually go and win and play really well. But I think that's also because Arsenal is a team that want to play good football themselves, and offensive football, so they could, they leave a lot of space behind them, and we've been really good on counter-attacks as well. So when we've been playing them, they kind of gone into the trap where it's a little bit dangerous to play that way against us if they can't, get their game plan 100% correct. But this game on Sunday obviously will be a bit different because they are in a great form at top of the league. We haven't been that good. Now we won against Rangers 2-0, and we had a new system and we performed well. Also individual players performed well. So going into this game with a little bit of self-confidence, a couple of goals scored and no conceded, which is good. But play Arsenal away now at this moment will be really, really difficult. So I'm a bit concerned, but it's also the time to actually make a statement to show that we want something with this season. So if you're gonna go forward, you have to play these teams anyway. You have to go there and actually put in the work to find something out from that game, even if it's a draw. You just need to go there and put in a great performance.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's one of those, like, we're obviously going to be helping Man City's cause, but I think at the moment, I completely agree. It would send a statement because obviously Arsenal have won 7 and lost 1 in the first 8, which is just, if that was Liverpool starting a season like that, we would have been absolutely made up with that. The fact that they're 11 points ahead of us, obviously we've got a game in hand, so we can make up a little bit of ground on them, hopefully, once we play the game in hand and stuff, but. It's and Klopp got asked about, like, just discussing like team news and formations and stuff. He obviously got asked about the formation because, like you said, the Rangers game we changed to like a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1, whatever it was. But it was like a 4-2-4 in attack. But it seemed to work really well, and he was quite coy on that because he said we need to remain unpredictable. Because he's not going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to be playing 4-3-3. By the way, lads, just so you're ready, Arteta, you can get ready for the 4-3-3. But what type of formation do you reckon? What do you reckon he'll do? Do you reckon he'll stick, or do you reckon he'll go 4-3-3 again?
I wouldn't mind if we stick with 4-2-3-1, if that's how we actually look at it when we see the 11 players on the pitch. Like before we actually start, you can, like you said, we can call it 4-4-1-1 or 4-4-2 in different shape. But I like to see it as a 4-2-3-1, and I wouldn't mind that we actually play the way, because I like the way we defend. I know it's Rangers, and it's a big difference between Rangers and Arsenal, obviously, with their offensive style of play and the players they have. But I like to actually go with Trent, even if we need him up the pitch, higher up the pitch. I kind of like the way we played with him having not that task to actually go that high against Rangers, and Tsimikas did it as well. I just like the think that if we can keep on focusing on our defense, because we need to have that sorted and feel self-confident in that part of the pitch. I kind of liked how we played and covered space for each other and helped each other out against Rangers. Now they didn't have much of a chance, but I just found that we clicked as a team more, that we've been talking about lately, that we need the rhythm and all that. And I felt like players actually covered up space for each other, helped each other out. We're closing down the opposition and all that kind of stuff. So I feel that against Arsenal, I wouldn't mind to actually go the same way, because it worked. And if we go into that game with that system, we seem to feel that, it's actually not working that we want, we can still switch it again. But why, when it now worked, I wouldn't mind us actually to try again, because it feels weird to actually maybe go 4-2-3-1 and then go back to 4-3-3. But like Klopp said, we might just change it again just to stay unpredictable. But it's a tough one, but I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, because I think I would prefer if we stuck with it, because, like you said, I felt like we looked a lot more stable. I think once we made the changes and went back to a 4-3-3, the same problems were happening again, like balls around the sides, balls over the top, ball into the space, and I just felt like we could deal with it a lot better when we have 4 attackers on the pitch and we had Thiago and Henderson quite close to each other. But I just wanted to speak about like Arsenal, because obviously they're doing really well. I've got like their last starting 11. I haven't got it as a graphic, sorry, but I can just read it out. So they had Ramsdale in goal, back 4 of Ben White, Saliba, Gabriel and Zinchenko, midfield 2 of Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka, and then Jesus up front with Saka, Odegaard and Martinelli behind. It's a really good side, isn't it?
Yeah,
really
it is.
Good side. I think it always has been, but it's just been trying to figure out what the best way was for them to play. Obviously, the arrival of Jesus and the return of Saliba from his loan have really, really helped them be a bit more solid at the back, and also being more creative and scoring goals up top, which is as basic as that, really, isn't it?
Yeah, and to be honest, when you look at it, there's a few players that is actually in a really good age, but there's loads of players that are really young as well. So they have a proper future team, in the future as well. Like I think, what's his name, Saliba, whatever. They are like 20 something. They got, and Odegaard's been obviously young for ages, because he came through when he was like 15, 16 and went to Real Madrid and all that. But they got loads of young, really good players, and they got players like Jesus, actually, probably going into his prime now. It's a great team when you look at it. And, that's the thing, though, like, that they got the quality. And if we go there now playing away, it's going to be tough, because they, like you said, they found out how to play, and they found something in the way of playing. I think a lot of it is actually down to Gabriel Jesus arriving in the summer, because he kind of makes, good runs. He keeps all the defenders busy. He's clever. He's a quality player. So, that leaves a lot of space for the 3 midfielders as well, the offensive ones, because they are really good as well. So, it will take a lot from us to actually, to stay focused and keep track of them when they play their game. So, for us to actually maybe sit a little bit more defensively and go on the counter-attack is probably the way to go, because they will go straight on us and be playing offensive, especially with a good start. They will have Emirates in, good atmosphere, and actually all the supporters, backing them up as well. So it will be a really tough game. I'm looking forward to it, though, because it's a big game, but also I'm nervous at the same time. But that's the way it is.
Yeah, I think it's like we said, like, even years gone by, I've always been nervous, but I just feel like the way they've started, it wasn't. I don't think anyone was predicting them to be top of the league, ahead of City, especially to win 7 out of the 8 games. They only lost to, was it Man United, and that was away. So they've won all the home games. So it's going to be a difficult one. But there's a few people have put the starting 11 predictions in there. But I just wanted to get yours first, Kristian. What are you thinking we'll go with?
Well, obviously, Alisson is a goal. Tsimikas is also in the starting 11, because Robbo is not back. Van Dijk, I would like for Konate to play, because I think his physical presence is really important. But I'm not sure where he is really in terms of fitness. So I just say Matip now, because I don't know. So Van Dijk, Matip, Trent, and if we stay with the 4-2-3-1, I go with I think, it's a tough one because it's away as well. But I think I go with Thiago and Henderson again, to be honest. Just because I think they were good, and Fabinho might have needed a rest and could come in, just to change it a bit as well and come in with a lot of energy as well. Might be that he goes in and, Henderson on the bench, but I just go with Thiago and Henderson, stay with it. And then Luis Diaz, Jota, Salah, and Firmino up front. I think it will be. I think he will switch back to Firmino, even if I would like to see Nunez. I think that's what Klopp's going to do, and then having Nunez to bring in.
Yeah, let's see what Doug's gone for. Doug's gone for Ali, Trent, Kanate, Van Dijk, Tsimikas, Thiago, Fabinho, Diaz, Firmino, Salah, and Jota. Kanate to deal with Jesus' pace and Martinelli. I think that's a really good point, actually, because Kanate was on the bench, wasn't he? The last game, didn't come on. So he was obviously fit enough for the bench. I mean, I would love him to be ready for this one because I just feel like against Arsenal, like Doug says, like the pace that they've got, like Kanate's pace, you can stop anyone. You can stop anyone with the pace.
If he's up to speed with his physicality, like that's fine. Like if he's actually able to bring on straight away now after he's been injured, I'm happy with that, obviously. But I don't know where he is though in terms of fitness. I haven't heard anything. So it's just that puts him in this kind of game where he hasn't played games and hasn't had had games in his body, like he's used the pace of the games, playing as you do get as well. You need the match fitness, as you call it, and he hasn't played. So I think that could be a little bit risky because he's maybe not up to speed with the tempo and stuff. But if he plays, I wouldn't be sad because he's a great player. But I'm just thinking, against Arsenal with all the pace and stuff, maybe he's not up to speed for it.
Yeah, because the subs we made on the Rangers game, obviously Jota came off for Firmino. So Jota got 70, Bobby got 20, Hendo got 70, and Fabinho got 20, Nunez got 80. So it's going to be, I think it's a difficult one to call, but it's nice to have options. Like, obviously, if Bobby comes back in, obviously Bobby likes to score against Arsenal, and we know how good he is in terms of dropping into the gaps, and he can probably play that 10 role if it's 4-2-3-1. He can probably play that better than Jota did, although Jota did it really, really well against Rangers, I thought. But I think it's drop into those gaps. I think Firmino can be really key, especially trying to stop the likes of Partey and Xhaka getting on the ball and trying to dictate tempo. So I think that's probably what he'll go with.
Jota could play up front. He likes a goal against Arsenal, and he can play that role as well. Yeah. So that's the good thing, though, with them too. Actually, we can switch if it doesn't work with Firmino in that role. We might just switch it around, that they just change or whatever. Or it could be the fact that actually Firmino goes into that role and Jota will play up front.
I think so. I just think Jota near the goal is better because we know how clinical he is, and he loves scoring against Arsenal. He's got 7 and 7 against Arsenal since he arrived, which is an amazing return for a player, a striker or a winger or a left winger, whatever he plays. He plays everywhere, doesn't he? So
good shout.
I think I agree. I think I agree with Doug's pretty much. I think the only really difficult one, it's Firmino or Nunez, isn't it? I think Diaz, Salah, Jota are nailed on. It's Firmino or Nunez, and then it's Fabinho or Henderson. I think Thiago has to start because we know how keen he is.
Yeah,
and it's either keep Hendo in for the leadership skills, and he was much better against Rangers than he has been this season in that more central role, or do you bring Fabinho in for a bit more defensive cover?
Yeah, that's the thing, though. It's a difficult one because you probably have more defensive cover from Fabinho, like the player he is, but you have a little bit of more of an energy and power in the way Henderson plays. Like, even if he's a little bit older, he still make runs and shouting and actually press and can show a little bit of aggressivity. So in a game like this, maybe you need someone like that as well. But I'm happy with any of them as long as Thiago plays. But I think maybe Henderson will go on because he did do well against Rangers. And if it turns out, he plays, say, 60, 70 minutes, you can bring on Fabinho, keep a little bit of cover. I think also with with Firmino then and Jota, like we can actually bring on Nunez, if we need him to be that kind of player, the striker in the box. I think Arsenal away might be, I wouldn't say too difficult for him because, like against Rangers, he was in the right spaces. He created, space and positions for himself to score. But I think it's just, this is a really difficult away game where we need to probably control it a bit more and actually go there and actually feel the game a bit to be able to, okay, this is how Arsenal will play it. It will be difficult. We just need the players that are experienced in the Premier League, which Nunez, we talked about, you just want to keep playing him to score, but this might be the wrong game to actually do it. So rather maybe have him then on the bench, play Jota, Firmino in, whatever role they will play. And then if we need, then we can bring on Nunez, in the 60, 70 minutes or whatever to actually, play a bit, more crosses or try to keep the ball up higher or whatever. But, like you said, it's good with options. So, yeah, but probably not start him this one. Even if I do want to see him though, because there's something, special with him. And as soon as he scores, he will keep on scoring, I think, because he's getting into the positions. Klopp said as well in the press conference, I've heard that, he's really happy with him though, even though he didn't score, because he actually gets into the position where he will score eventually.
Yeah, I think it's maybe a step too far, the Arsenal game so soon. I think the Rangers game was perfect because we knew there'd be space, whether it was down the channels or in behind, balls over the top. I think Arsenal might be a bit more contained and they'll be wary of obviously being too high up because they know that we've got. I mean, they've got a lot of pace up in the forward positions, but so have we with the likes of Jota and Salah and Diaz and Nunez. So if Nunez starts or comes off the bench, there's a lot of pace and power there that can cause a lot of problems. So it's going to be an interesting one to see what he picks. But there's some options there, which was what we're glad about because been most of the season where we're like, we know who's playing, we know who's on the bench, and the bench isn't that good, and they're missing a lot of key players.
Yeah,
so it's good to have options again, isn't it?
Yeah, and if we have the formation of 4-2-3-1, it gives us a different way of rotate as well, which I like, to be honest. Like when you have, like with Jota and Firmino, if they play at the same time, or like we did against Rangers with Nunez, and we can actually swap with Firmino and Jota could go left, Jota could, there's another way of switching the offensive four, if you like. And I kind of like that we actually got the options to do that because we can actually change, players that like Nunez, he comes in and gives something extra. Firmino has his skills. Jota is more of a, goal scorer, or he can actually go out left if we want to rotate, It's just good to be able to have players with different kind of skills, but can still play the formation, and swap with each other, which causes Arsenal problems, I guess, hopefully.
I think that feeds into what I said before about like Klopp saying he wasn't wanting to talk about the formation or whatever. He said we need to remain unpredictable. I think that kind of feeds into that as well, because like you said, Jota can go right, Salah can go up front, Diaz can go left, Diaz can go through the centre, Jota can go 10 or striker, Firmino can do either. So it's about those popping up in the positions, but obviously making sure that we're closing down the spaces like we did loads better against Rangers, because we're going to need to do that again. And make sure that we're a bit loads tighter in the spaces where they can try and turn the ball around and transition and try and counter attack. We need to be really on top of it on Sunday. But
the most important part is actually obviously with the skillful players that we have, like obviously to do a good job in terms of using our players, but the most important thing is actually to keep the intensity and energy from the Rangers game, not to drop that, because we've been talking about this since the start of the season, that we've been lacking the intensity and energy. That is the most important part to bring from Rangers into the Arsenal game. If we can actually be, on them from the start, because they will obviously at home try to control the game and play their way of offensive football. But if we can run them down, put pressure, break up the plan, and that's the thing, then we can have a really great chance, because that will frustrate them. So we cannot just sit, we can sit back, but we cannot let them have loads of space to play their football, because that will punish us straight away.
Yeah, and we need to also be like wary of being too gung-ho and creating, because when we get stretched, we haven't got enough pace in the midfield to cover the ground. So it just needs to come up with a way to be tighter. And I think, like we said, Rangers was a good step towards that. So hopefully we'll see something similar. But yeah, let's go for actually. So Parv Scout says, I hope we go the same team and formation we played against Rangers, more or less, which is yeah, basically what we've just said there, to be fair. So hopefully, and then score predictions. Kristian, what are you thinking?
Might be a little bit because of being nervous or whatever. I'm actually, I don't like it, but I see it as a like 2-2 game. I think I hope obviously we go and win it, but I think this will be real difficult. We could go and just do a Liverpool against Arsenal game where everything just clicks and we go and win like 3-1 or whatever. No one would be more happy than me. But at the same time, Arsenal's been informed; they're really good. So I'll just see it as a draw. We're away and all that. So I just say 2-2 because I got the gut feeling about it, and then we see how it goes.
Yeah, it's gonna be. Yeah, I mean, let's see what we've got in the chat. So Paul's gone for 2-1 to us. Panos Scouse has gone for 3-2 to us. Arsenal
it's going to be one of them games.
I know. I don't know if my blood pressure can deal with that. Arsenal fans really believe they are the bee's knees and that we are finished. I hope we turn up on Sunday and thrash them 5-6-0 just to quieten them down. But that's the thing. Like I'm with you. I think I'd love a 2-1. I'd absolutely love a 2-1. I mean, but I'm thinking 1-1. I think a score draw like 1-1 or 2-2. But I'd absolutely love a 1-1 and then Jota scores towards the end and just does the old Jota with the Arsenal fans or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be a difficult one. But I think.
What do you think then?
Yeah, I think 2-1 for us.
I'll take it, but I will be fucking biting my nails all the way through.
Yeah, I know I will. My heart says 2-1. My head says 2-2, or 1 a score draw or 1-1. So it's going to be tight either way. But I mean, I hope it is. I hope it's tight. I hope that we can, like I said, carry on those positive steps that we took in the Rangers game to be a lot more. Just better as a team. I think we were just when we were talking about the Rangers game, we were like, oh, we just need to be like just tighter as a defensive unit, just closing space down, intensity. Shout out Pep Linders.
And when we win the ball, just fucking counter-attack the shit out of them.
Just show the intensity. That's it. I mean,
that's what I think. Like you said, keep it tight, keep it a bit defensively without being too low, but then win the ball and just unleash the offensive players that are really quick and pacey, and just make punish them in that way, counterattack them, and then win instead of like a few goals. But it's so much easier said than done.
Yeah, well, I'll be watching from a pub in Rome somewhere, so that'll be good. Hopefully with a few beers, celebrate a nice win.
Of course you do. The only thing you do is now traveling the world.
Don't be jealous now, lad. Don't be jealous. But before we go, I just wanted to give a little plug to this little baby, Neil Mellor, an interview that I did it last night with Neil Mellor, and it was very good actually. It was I had a good chat about all things Liverpool, obviously the Arsenal goal and the Olympiacos goal and assist, that cushioned header, the whole 2004-2005 season pretty much, and Gerard Houllier and Rafa Benitez, and just a good chat about a good, like I think it was like 50 odd minutes actually we did about his rise from the Man City youth and then signing for Liverpool and scoring loads of goals in the reserves, injuries and Maldini's medal. But I won't say too much more, but it was really good and that'll be out later tonight. And,
I'm looking forward to watch it or listen to it. Like, Mellor, you remember him coming through the youth system and had quite a big expectations because he scored so many goals. Didn't turn out the way we thought because he, got his injuries as well. But he has his place in the history, obviously, because of, the goal against Arsenal and the Olympiacos game. So that will be really interesting.
Yeah, it was. It was a great guy and had some some funny stories to tell, which obviously I think I'll probably post it tonight like 5 or 6-ish UK time. So if you want to go and watch that or listen to it, then that'll be boss. But just before we go, I've got a few more comments. Kuda says 3-1 to the Reds, and John says Luis Diaz is the best Colombian import since cocaine. Class. I absolutely love that. And what better way to go out? We'll finish the podcast than that. But yeah, nice one everyone in the chat. For a midday pod on my lunch. That's been sound. You've all been really good there with the chat. But if you're watching on YouTube, then do hit the like and subscribe button. It'd really help us if you're listening on audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, whatever else. Then yeah, leave us a rating or a review. It really help us out. And yeah, do check out the Mellor, lovely cushioned header, Neil Mellor interview later today. And yeah, nice one, Kristian, as well. And yeah, we'll see you next time. Up the Reds.